It really is. It really is hard. That's why when the Chubb I was on township committee when this happened, and I could tell you the whole story if you want to hear all about Chubb. I know I want Greg to talk though, but the Chubb situation is important, because what happened with Chubb, from my perspective, maybe other people have different perspectives, but from my perspective, Somerset Associates, who's the owner of the property, came to the township committee. I believe George Lazo was the mayor at the time. And the way it works is you usually go to the mayor when you want to ask a question, right? You don't come to the rest of us. And probably the town administrator. And they wanted us to come and to see a presentation by a potential developer. And the potential developer was the developer that ended up suing the township. They've now dropped out of the lawsuit, but they wanted to pitch a warehouse. Now, I've been a land use attorney for a long time. I've worked in towns where they did warehousing. You could do a ginormous warehouse like an Amazon, which is a distribution center and not a warehouse, or you could do self-storage, which is a small warehouse, really innocuous, or you can do something in the middle, like a storage warehouse. Like I was involved with LG when they came into East Windsor Township. Not that many bays. They basically store their stuff there. And, a tractor trailer comes in once in a while, goes right to the state highway and delivers where they need to deliver. It's really not that horrible a use. And when we went to see this presentation, that's basically what it was presented as. They were talking about giant berms and setbacks and donating open space to the township from that 100 acres that's there. I still have the email. I still have the email. I saved it. It's public record where they said all of these things to us, and I asked them specifically sitting in that meeting. I said, this isn't going to be like an Amazon or anything, is it? Because the residents would never accept something like that. And what the developer said to me, and I wrote it down and I still have that pad to this day, an end user has not yet been identified. That's exactly what he said. And I wrote that down. So no Amazon was identified. No distribution center was identified. We were looking at something akin to a storage warehouse or some sort of a warehouse. So in my mind, I thought this may not be the worst thing, and we have to bring it to the public anyway. And if the residents hate it, we don't have to have it. But it's something that we should at least present to the residents. So what ended up happening is nothing happened for months after we went to this meeting. At least nothing that I was aware of was happening. And then about 3 weeks before the March meeting in 2022, I got this ordinance that was basically nothing in my head that they were talking about when we were there. They showed us aerials. They talked about berms. They talked about setbacks, large setbacks into the property where residents wouldn't even know they were there. I'm looking at this ordinance and I'm reading this ordinance, and it's talking about something ridiculous like 5 or 10 foot setbacks. And I'm like, wait. You can't put a berm in that kind of a setback. And I keep reading throughout this ordinance. I'm waiting to see where the landscaping is going to be. Where are these berms going to be? And I'm not seeing any of this. And then I see, and I thought this was a typo. And when I read it, I thought I hallucinated, and I called the township attorney because it said that it has to be a minimum of 750,000 square feet. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, you mean not more than? And even that is too high. So I called and I said, this is not what I saw. This is not what I experienced. This is not what I envisioned. I don't understand what's happening here right now. So he went back and he said, oh, yeah, you're right. Some of these things are kind of intense, and they changed it slightly, but not enough that I would have been satisfied. But I'm thinking, okay, well, the public's going to have to see this. So, and I hope that everybody does. So March meeting, it was not on the agenda. The introduction of this ordinance was not on the agenda. And when we went out, the agenda was amended to place this introduction on the agenda. Is that illegal? No, you can do that. Is that shady? Yes, I think it is. In my opinion, it is. It should have been there so that everybody who lives there would have known that we were introducing an ordinance like that, so that they could come and at least say something before the introduction. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. And someone said something about talking to residents and walking around and talking to residents. I'm sorry, but that is not a public hearing. Walking around and showing a picture to individual residents is not a public hearing. That's nonsense. So I voted against it, and McMarion voted against it, but we were outnumbered because it was 3-2. So the ordinance was then introduced. And at that point, I called everybody that lives around in the Warren Chase neighborhood, and about 100 people, it must have been 100 people that came out for the public hearing in April. And what happened at that hearing is it was voted down. It was voted down. It should never have been introduced in my mind in the first place, because what happens when it's voted down? Well, the ordinance is killed. It's over. It got 5 no votes. So what happens next? Oh, well, the developer and the property owner sue you. And then any negotiation that happens is behind closed doors because now it's litigation. So my idea, don't introduce it in the first place. Have some listening sessions, some presentations for residents to see if residents would even entertain a small, teeny, tiny little warehouse or a storage warehouse, because we don't know. We don't know. But they shoved it onto the agenda. And once that ordinance is introduced, something has to happen with it. It doesn't just go away on its own. It has to either be voted, either everybody votes yes, everybody votes in the affirmative, and it becomes law, basically, or we all vote no, and then we all get sued. I thought that that was the worst thing that happened, and I don't know what's happening right now, because even though I know it's no secret that I supported Sean Fine and Vanessa Kean last year when they ran for township committee, and they are now serving on the township committee, and I could tell you that they are very honest public servants, and they would never dare tell me what is going on in executive session, and I don't ask because it's illegal. Because that is a privilege, and I don't ask. I don't want to know. I just want to, and I know that they're trying to do the right thing. I hope that everyone is doing the right thing with regard to that property.
And just briefly to refocus, I think one of the fallacies is looking at a specific property location and trying to make decisions. Let's go back to the planning thing. You need to look at the entire town and
Yes.
what is the best way to handle all of the properties, and some commercial, some residential, and do it with forethought so that in the end, everybody benefits.